My name is Emma, 38 years old, and I've carried a silent ache for months that my family seems determined to ignore. I sit in my modest study, the dim light casting shadows over a stack of condolence letters, clutching an invitation to my sister Chloe's birthday party, sent just weeks after Dad's funeral. They chose her celebration over my grief, their laughter drowning out my mourning, but the will readings are looming, a twist I didn't see coming. My heart burns with a mix of sorrow and resolve, a plan forming to turn their indifference into accountability. The path ahead is unclear, but I'm ready to face it. Growing up, I was the steady one in a family that thrived on flair. Chloe, 2 years younger, was the vibrant star, dancer, socialite, always the center of attention. Our parents, a retired doctor and a social organizer, adored her performances, while I managed the quiet tasks, tutoring, budgeting, caring for Dad during his illness. I studied literature, becoming a freelance writer, my modest income a contrast to Chloe's lavish lifestyle funded by their support. I lived in a small apartment, content with my books, while Chloe flitted through parties, her charm their pride. Dad's cancer diagnosis 2 years ago shifted everything. I became his caregiver, missing deadlines to sit by his bedside. Dad's death 6 months ago shattered me. The hospital room, his weak smile fading, left me hollow, my grief a constant companion. I organized the funeral, wrote his eulogy, my tears hidden behind duty. Chloe attended, teary but distracted, already planning her next event. The family gathered afterward, but the mood shifted when Mom announced, "Chloe's birthday is next month, let's make it special." I stared, stunned. "Dad just passed," I murmured, but Mom waved it off. "Life goes on, Emma." Marcus, my uncle, nodded. "Chloe needs this." Their dismissal cut deep, my loss sidelined for her party. The birthday invitation arrived, a glossy card with balloons, sent to everyone but addressed casually to me. I called Mom, my voice breaking. "I'm still grieving. Can we postpone?" She sighed. "Chloe's been through enough. You'll manage." I relented, attending out of obligation, my black dress a stark contrast to the festive crowd. The venue, a rented hall, buzzed with music and laughter, Chloe's friends toasting her 36th year. I sat at a corner table, ignored, my plate untouched. Marcus joked, "Emma's the gloomy one," and Chloe giggled, "She'll get over it." Mom hugged her, oblivious to my pain. I left early, the silence of my apartment a refuge. The next weeks were a blur of isolation. I wrote a memoir chapter on Dad, its pages wet with tears, but my submissions were rejected, grief clouded my focus. Chloe posted party photos, captions like, "Best night ever," my absence a silent jab. I visited Dad's study, finding his will draft, its pages hinting at fairness, my name alongside Chloe's. Hope flickered, but Mom had locked the official copy, promising a reading when the time's right. I suspected bias, my grief fueling suspicion. I copied the draft, tucking it into my journal, a potential weapon. At work, I struggled. A client dropped me, citing missed deadlines, and my savings dwindled. I channeled my anger into a blog, Grief in the Shadows, its raw honesty drawing readers. Comments poured in, "You're not alone," and I built a small following, a lifeline. Rachel, a lawyer friend, advised documenting the family's neglect, suggesting a legal angle if the will favored Chloe. I recorded conversations, Mom's dismissal, Marcus's quips, building a case. The blog's traffic grew, and a publisher contacted me, intrigued by my story. The will reading was scheduled, a sudden call from Mom breaking my routine. "Dad's lawyer insists," she said, her tone clipped. I prepared, bringing the draft and recordings, my heart racing. The family gathered at the lawyer's office, Mom, Chloe, Marcus, and me, tension thick. Chloe preened, expecting a windfall, while I sat quietly, my grief a shield. The lawyer, Mr. Grayson, began, his voice steady, and I braced for the revelation that would shift everything. My plan was taking root, a blend of personal reflection and strategic evidence. Their choice to prioritize Chloe's birthday over my mourning had isolated me, but the will readings promised a turning point. I anticipated their reaction: shock, denial, or acceptance, with a mix of dread and determination. They wouldn't expect my resilience, and I was ready to use it. The lawyer's office loomed in my mind as I left the will reading, the air thick with tension and the faint rustle of papers still echoing. I woke the next morning in my small apartment, the copied will draft clutched in my hand, its edges worn from restless nights. The family's stunned silence, Chloe's gasp, Mom's paling face, Marcus's muttered curse, had shifted the ground beneath us, and I knew the fallout would be seismic. My plan had sparked with the will's revelation, and I was ready to navigate the storm, turning their neglect into a reckoning they couldn't escape. The next steps were murky, but my resolve was unyielding. The will reading began with Mr. Grayson's measured tone, the room holding its breath. He outlined Dad's estate, his savings, the house, a modest investment portfolio, then paused. To Chloe, I leave the family home and $50,000, in recognition of her spirit, he read. Chloe beamed, her confidence unshaken. I braced myself, expecting little, when Grayson continued, to Emma, I leave the investment portfolio, valued at $150,000, and full control of my charitable trust, worth $200,000, for her dedication and strength. The room stilled. Mom's fork clattered, Chloe's smile faded, Marcus whispered, "What?" I sat frozen, the weight of Dad's trust sinking in. The revelation sparked chaos. Chloe snapped, "That's unfair. I cared for him too." Mom intervened, "Emma didn't need this, she's fine alone." Marcus added, Dad was confused. I held up the draft, my voice steady. "This matches what he wrote. He saw my effort." Grayson confirmed the will's authenticity, notarized months before Dad's death, and I produced my recordings, Mom dismissing my grief, Marcus's jokes, proving their neglect. The lawyer frowned, this could influence a challenge. Chloe stormed out, Mom following, their anger a cloud. I stayed, copying the official will, my leverage growing. That night, my phone buzzed incessantly. Chloe texted, "You manipulated him." Mom called, her voice shrill. "Emma, this isn't what we agreed." I explained calmly, "Dad chose this. You ignored me." Dad emailed a formal protest, demanding a meeting. I agreed, scheduling it for the next day, and prepared a presentation, hospital records of my caregiving, blog posts on my grief, the will draft, ready to defend my inheritance. Rachel reviewed it, suggesting a countersuit if they contested, and I drafted a statement, holding it for leverage. The family meeting was a battlefield, held at the house I now partly owned. Chloe arrived with a lawyer, Mom and Marcus beside her, their alliance tense. I projected the evidence, my voice firm. I cared for Dad daily, meds, meals, his final words. "You chose Chloe's party over my mourning." Chloe retorted, "You're greedy." I played a recording, her laughter at the party, my silence, and the room stilled. Mom teared up, "We didn't know it hurt you, but Marcus insisted, the trust should be split." I countered, "Dad's will stands. Challenge it, and I'll sue." The confrontation deepened. Chloe's lawyer suggested mediation, but I demanded an apology and $20,000 for emotional distress, citing their neglect. Mom relented, "We'll pay $10,000, a compromise I accepted, recording their agreement." They signed a draft, their hands trembling, and I left, the victory tinged with sorrow. Chloe whispered, "This isn't over," her threat lingering. At home, my blog surged. Grief Overlooked hit 50,000 views, comments pouring in, "You deserve this." And the publisher offered a book deal. I wrote furiously, channeling my pain into pages, the advance funding a grief counselor. The charitable trust, focused on cancer support, gained traction, my first grant approved. Rachel advised leveraging it publicly, and I recorded a video honoring Dad's legacy, its views climbing. A local paper featured me, my story inspiring readers. Chloe's retaliation came swiftly. She leaked old emails, twisting my caregiving into control, but my recordings countered, forcing a retraction. I filed a harassment claim, Rachel drafting it, and Chloe backed down, paying $2,000 in damages. Marcus called, apologetic, she's out of line. Can we talk? I agreed, sensing a divide, and met him alone. He offered, I'll support the trust if you drop the claim. I nodded, a truce forming. The next family event, a memorial for Dad, became my stage. I arrived with Rachel, her presence a flex. During the tribute, Mom read the apology, her voice breaking, we regret choosing Chloe's birthday over Emma's grief. The crowd nodded, Chloe silent, Marcus clapping. I spoke, this trust honors Dad, and distributed blog links, my influence spreading. Mom hugged me, we're learning, but I kept my guard. My plan was taking shape, a blend of legal proof and public validation. Their neglect had isolated me, but the will readings promised justice. The memorial marked a pivot, and I anticipated their next move, reconciliation or resistance, with cautious hope. They wouldn't expect my strength, and I was prepared to see it through. The memorial's tentative applause lingered in my thoughts as I returned to my apartment, the $10,000 check and signed apology tucked into a drawer, a bittersweet victory. I woke each morning to the soft hum of my study, the charitable trust documents beside Dad's will draft, a reminder of my journey and the battles ahead. The family's shift, Mom's tearful regret, Marcus's support, Chloe's simmering resentment, had cracked their unity, and I was ready to widen the rift, turning their neglect into a lesson they couldn't evade. The next phase was unfolding, and I braced myself for their response. The days after the memorial brought a fragile truce. Mom called, her voice softer. Emma, let's settle this. The trust is yours. I agreed to a meeting, proposing a formal agreement, $10,000 paid, a public acknowledgement of my caregiving, and a family reconciliation dinner. Chloe texted, this isn't fair, her defiance clear, but Marcus replied, I'll back you if you drop the claim. I considered it, scheduling the meeting, and prepared a dossier, hospital logs, blog analytics, trust grant approvals, ready to solidify my stance. Rachel reviewed the terms, suggesting a mediation clause, and I drafted it, holding it as leverage. The family meeting convened at a neutral cafe, the air thick with tension. Mom, Marcus, and Chloe attended, her lawyer absent, a sign of retreat. I projected the evidence, my voice steady. I cared for Dad for 2 years, meds, therapy, his final days. You chose Chloe's party over my grief. Chloe snapped, you're milking this. I played a recording, her laughter at the party, my silence, and the table stilled. Mom teared up, we didn't see your pain, but Chloe insisted, the trust should be split. I countered, Dad's will stands. Challenge it, and I'll escalate. The confrontation intensified. Chloe's lawyer contacted me, offering mediation, but I demanded an apology and the full $20,000, citing emotional and financial strain. Mom relented, we'll pay $15,000, a compromise I accepted, recording their agreement. They signed the updated contract, Chloe's signature reluctant, and I left, the victory tempered by her glare. Marcus pulled me aside, she's struggling. Give her time. I nodded, wary but open. At home, my blog exploded. Grief Overlooked hit 100,000 views, the book deal finalized with a $50,000 advance. I hired an editor, pouring my story into chapters, the process a catharsis. The charitable trust gained national attention, its first $50,000 grant funding a cancer ward, and I recorded a video, Dad's Vision Lives, its views soaring. A literary agent pitched a speaking tour, and I accepted, the platform amplifying my voice. Rachel advised publicizing the trust, and I launched a campaign, donations flooding in. Chloe's retaliation came subtly. She spread rumors at a family reunion, claiming I forged the will, but my recordings and Grayson's affidavit quashed it. I filed a cease and desist, Rachel drafting it, and Chloe backed down, paying $3,000 in damages. Marcus mediated, she's sorry. Let's move forward. I agreed to a cautious truce, inviting them to the Trust's launch event, a public stage to test their intent. The Trust launch was a triumph, held at a community center. I arrived with Rachel, her support a shield. During the keynote, Mom read the acknowledgement, her voice breaking, "We regret overlooking Emma's grief and honor her caregiving." The crowd clapped, Chloe nodding stiffly, Marcus smiling. I spoke, "This trust is Dad's legacy," and distributed blog links, my influence growing. Mom hugged me, "We're trying," but I kept boundaries, sensing Chloe's unease. My plan was blooming, a mix of legal pressure and public validation. Their neglect had isolated me, but the will readings promised justice. The launch marked a turning point, and I anticipated their next move, reconciliation or defiance, with cautious optimism. They wouldn't expect my sustained resolve, and I was prepared to see it through. The Trust launch's applause still echoed in my ears as I returned to my apartment, the $15,000 check and signed acknowledgement framed on my wall, a testament to a hard-fought journey. I woke each morning to the soft glow of my study, the charitable trust ledger and Dad's will draft beside a photo of us, symbols of my rise from grief to strength. The family's shift, Mom's tearful regret, Marcus's support, Chloe's reluctant nod, had opened a fragile bridge, and I was ready to solidify it into a lasting triumph. Their choice to prioritize Chloe's birthday over my mourning had isolated me, but now I'd turn it into a legacy of healing, though the final harmony was still unfolding. The financial settlement became a foundation for growth. I invested the $15,000 into the charitable trust, expanding its cancer support programs to include grief counseling, a personal mission tied to Dad's memory. The Trust's first $100,000 grant funded a community center wing, its ribbon cutting a local event attended by survivors and families. Carlos, a volunteer coordinator, thrived, and I appointed him trustee, sharing the load. The book deal's $50,000 advance allowed me to hire a full-time editor, my memoir Silent Strength nearing completion, its early chapters resonating with beta readers. I donated a quarter to the Trust, transforming my pain into a broader impact. Marcus's mediation bore fruit. He worked alongside me at the center's launch, serving food to attendees, his humility a stark contrast to his past jabs. Afterward, he called, his voice steady. "I misjudged you, Emma. Dad was right." I invited him to a family dinner, and he attended with Sophia, her presence a sign of thawing relations. Mom and Chloe joined, bringing a scrapbook of Dad's letters, one addressed to me, "My rock, Emma." Tears fell as I read it, accepting it as amends. The dinner was tense but civil, Marcus toasting, to Emma's strength, a rare unity forming. Chloe's transformation was the hardest to gauge. Her social media went quiet, and Marcus hinted at her seeking therapy, a step toward accountability. I reached out, offering a trust board seat if she contributed, and she accepted, attending a meeting with cautious interest. Her input on a youth program surprised me, practical, thoughtful, and I saw a flicker of the sister I'd lost. The cease and desist settlement's $3,000 funded art therapy at the center, my generosity earning her tentative respect. A family therapist suggested by Rachel facilitated a session, and we aired grievances, Chloe admitting, I was selfish. The progress was slow, but real. Professionally, my ascent was unstoppable. The speaking tour launched, my first event in a packed auditorium, my story of grief and resilience moving the crowd to tears. Clips went viral, comments flooding, "You're a hero." And I expanded the tour, booking cities nationwide. The memoir's publisher pushed for a release date, and I wrote a foreword, dedicating it to Dad. The Trust's campaign raised $250,000, its impact featured on a morning show, My Face Now Public. I mentored a young writer, her story mirroring mine, passing on my grit. The family reconciliation dinner was a milestone, held at the community center. Dad's favorite meal, roast chicken and potatoes, filled the air, a nod to his memory. Mom read the acknowledgement again, her voice steady. "We regret choosing Chloe's birthday over Emma's grief and honor her unwavering care." Chloe added, "I'm sorry, Emma," her eyes meeting mine. Marcus served, Sophia helping, and I toasted, to Dad's legacy and our healing. Relatives joined, their nods of validation, and I distributed memoir excerpts, my influence rippling. The night ended with shared stories, a rare warmth, though I kept boundaries, wary of setbacks. One afternoon, sorting the scrapbook, I found Dad's watch, its ticking a heartbeat I'd missed. Tears fell as I wore it, framing it beside the Trust's first check, a bridge from loss to legacy. The podcast hit 150,000 downloads, its finale, Grief to Grace, inspiring listeners. I hosted a live Q&A, sharing tips, document your truth, seek allies, reclaim your voice, and the session trended, boosting my platform. The memoir launched, its signing event sold out, and I donated proceeds to the Trust, solidifying its reach. The community center's grand opening was a pinnacle. Survivors spoke, crediting the Trust, and I unveiled a plaque, in memory of James, father and visionary. Mom, Chloe, and Marcus attended, their presence a public step forward. A local award named me Community Champion, and I accepted, dedicating it to Dad. The family visited often, Mom cooking with me, Marcus advising on grants, Chloe leading youth workshops, a slow rebuild of trust. I reconnected with an old friend, her support adding joy to my days.